Good morning, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to this public meeting number 6 of today, Friday, November 10, 2023. I would like to give a special welcome to the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Ms. Sylvia Jacobs, and her support staff. We have established a quorum of 8 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the following members: MP Ludmila De Wever. I have received notice of lateness from MP Westcott Williams, MP Bryson, and MP Marlin. At this moment, I would like to wish the people of St. Martin a very happy and a blessed St. Martin's Day in advance, and also would like to wish the Indian diaspora a happy Dhanteras and a happy Diwali in advance. Are there any notifications? No need. The agenda points for this public meeting are: number 1, incoming documents; number 2, draft national ordinance to amend the National Ordinance Integrity Chamber in connection with increasing the age limit for members and alternate members under document Parliamentary Year 2022-23-169 under IS document 864/2022-23 dated June 15, 2023. Agenda point 3, advise on proposal to establish a permanent committee of Parliament for Agriculture, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry under CAFAH. Document is IS/991/2022-23 dated August 14, 2023. We go over to the agenda point 1. All members have received the list of incoming documents and proposal for further handling under IS/1020 until IS/1107, Parliamentary Year 2022-23, and IS/001 until IS/135, Parliamentary Year 2023-24. Are there any comments on the proposals on the list as presented? To which member can I give the floor? There's no need. Thank you, members of Parliament. Please note that IS/065/2023-24 was received on October 2nd, 2023. It is a national ordinance received from the government. In accordance with the decision of the faction leaders, I would like to inquire if we would like to handle this national ordinance in writing and approve the report in the Central Committee meeting, or that we invite the responsible minister for a Central Committee meeting to further handle this national ordinance. No need to... IS/065. There's no need, so we can move ahead with that. Thank you. If there are no comments, the list and the proposals for handling are approved. We go over to the agenda point 2. Draft national ordinance to amend the National Ordinance Integrity Chamber in connection with increasing the age limit for members and alternate members under document Parliamentary Year 2022-23-169 under IS document 864/2022-23 dated June 15, 2023. Parliament received the draft national ordinance to amend the National Ordinance Integrity Chamber in connection with increasing the age limit for members and alternate members on June 15, 2023. A Central Committee meeting was held on September 13, 2023 on the subject matter, in which the final report with questions to the minister was established. The report was sent to the government as well as to the members. The government answered this report with a so-called note following the final report under document IS/201/2022-23 dated November 10, 2023. All members have received a copy of the draft national ordinance and the note following the final report, digitally via email. These documents can be found on the Parliament General Teams. At this time, I would like to give the floor to the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Ms. Sylvia Jacobs, for her opening remarks and our presentation. Prime Minister, you have the floor. Press the button. At this moment, we'll adjourn for 15 minutes due to technical difficulties. Meeting adjourned. Welcome back, and I give the floor to the Honorable Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
It has to go red, right? Good afternoon to you, Mr. Chairman, the members of Parliament, of course, the Secretary General and other support staff, as well as those of my cabinet, and of course, the Director of the Integrity Chamber, Ms. Pompier. Mr. Chairman, we're here for the public meeting for the handling of the National Ordinance, amending the National Ordinance Integrity Chamber in connection with raising the age limit for the members and the deputy members. We have done this before. We've had a Central Committee meeting handling, and the report was received, as well as a note that was submitted with the answers that were asked by the two factions. As such, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request that based on, in keeping with the other times that we've brought the changes for raising the age, seeing the difficulty in finding members, especially seeing how quickly they trade off. They only have the opportunity to serve 2 terms of 3 years, after which then they would leave. And in our case, St. Martin, our member having achieved that age and we not having someone readily available to replace him, we're asking the Parliament to approve that this one also be raised, as we did with the Council of Advice, Ombudsman, and the other high councils. So with that being said, and the responses that have been received, I look forward to any further deliberation necessary from this August body. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The allotted speaking time is 20 minutes in the first round and 10 minutes in the second round. According to the speakers list, I give the floor to the MP Bryson. MP Bryson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A good afternoon now to you, to my colleague members of Parliament, the Secretary General, and a good afternoon also to our Prime Minister, her support team, also the representative from the Integrity Chamber with us, those in the Tribune, and those following by other forms of media. Mr. Chairman, indeed, I would like to first say that I think this method of handling legislation is an interesting one. I think it worked out pretty well in the sense that we were able to just send whatever questions we had in writing. We approved that report in a CC. I think for very straightforward legislation like that, it's a very efficient and good way to handle it. I heard earlier today in the incoming documents, a similar method has been chosen by the public meeting today to continue with that with certain legislation. So hopefully that does help a little bit with how we handle legislation going forward for those that are especially straightforward, so to speak. So I think that was good. Our faction did have 2 questions that we had posed in that meeting, and for the edification of the public, I would still like to pose them because I think they kind of encompass whenever the Integrity Chamber is a topic or the Integrity Chamber being a part of St. Martin, no longer being seen as a, or how do we get away from it being seen as some sort of Dutch entity forced upon St. Martin? Have we been able to transition away from that? We have a local director now. What is the local involvement and so on? And that is why I asked if the Integrity Chamber has published a local recruitment process for board members. And to clarify, because when I see the response, I'm actually wondering if members nominated by the Netherlands, if they also seek local participation, or if they also might seek and say, you know, among the 60,000 or whatever people in St. Martin, although we have to nominate someone, maybe there is someone that fits that profile right here from St. Martin or in St. Martin. So that is the line that I would like to go. And in discussion with MP Marlin, I'm sure he'll probably go into that in more detail, that was one of the concerns. The fact that, okay, we are increasing the age limit, that seems more so to accommodate our situation, but there's still this lingering issue of the Netherlands having a right by law to appoint members to the Integrity Chamber's board, as well as replacement members. And I'm wondering, within the legislation, how far are we able to move from that? Mr. Chairman, we did, with the faction leader of National Alliance, discuss the possibility of amending this particular legislation to actually have that written into the law, which would make it so that by means of changing Article, let me pull it up. Yeah, by means of adjusting Article 8 and adding a 6th condition to what a member of the Integrity Chamber should have, is that let me translate quick, a member or replacement member of the Integrity Chamber must be a resident written into the basic administration of St. Martin. The idea behind that would have been to see how we can ensure that if the Integrity Chamber becomes an integral part, continues to be an integral part of St. Martin, can there be across the board, both by the Netherlands and St. Martin, an understanding that St. Martiners should be a part of this as well? You know, that people within our society that live here, that experience our culture, our norms and understandings, if they would be given some sort of preference to move closer and closer to having opportunities for locals to participate in these very important institutions, be it the Council of Advice, Integrity Chamber, etc. Maybe having that norm across the board should be important. I think that is a norm, if I'm not mistaken, across the other high councils, that they should be residents of St. Martin, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that should probably be the same for our own local Integrity Chamber. Mr. Chairman, I had also posed in the, I wouldn't say in the Central Committee, but in the report, whether the faction, well, our faction would like to know if the budget of the Integrity Chamber is going to remain within the norms stipulated. In this amendment, there is no change to what we had addressed in a previous budget, where in the explanatory memorandum of the law, it states that the Integrity Chamber's budget should be between, if I'm not mistaken, 1.5 and 2.5 million. Is that norm going to be maintained, or between 1.5 and 2 million? Whatever the plans are for the budget of the Integrity Chamber from the government side, if we can get some ideas on that. Where are the focus areas within the budget? How is the Integrity Chamber managing with the budget that they have? Just to get an update on that as well. And Mr. Chairman, I also, just in general, sometimes we understand, or the government can express the reasoning behind increasing the age of these institutions, and sometimes it can come across, not saying it's correct, but it can come across to the public like this means we don't have enough younger people qualified to be in such a position. What efforts are being made by the government from now to already start identifying people who the Council of Advice, with the Integrity Chamber, with other institutions that we plan to raise the age from 70 to 75? Are there any efforts being made to start training, guiding, and also promoting people wanting to be a part of these institutions? Because I also feel that that may also be the case. I've sometimes spoken to people who were thinking about applying for these institutions, but they feel like, you know, I don't know if I want to be a part of that, or am I able to keep my current job while also having that function, or is there a conflict of interest in that regard? How much room is there to make it as easy as possible for it to be attractive to even want to be a part of these institutions? I think that is maybe some clarity. Has the Prime Minister or the Integrity Chamber received feedback on some people that may have applied, but maybe said, you know what, because of this or because of that, I would not join the Integrity Chamber or any of these high councils for that matter? So, Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate that with the limitations that we do have a constitutional right to amend, but there are limits to that, from what I understand, in being able to go beyond the scope of the amendment being presented. But I do agree with MP Marlin that I think there needs to be some sort of changes to this institution that bring it more in line with St. Martin. And while I'm not able to present this amendment here today, I do think getting feedback from the Prime Minister on what I've said and also looking forward to what other changes can come, be it from Parliament side by means of this amendment or from the government side to really fine-tune the institution to bring it more back home. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Bryson. The next person is MP Marlin. MP Marlin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A hearty good afternoon to you, to colleagues in Parliament, and a welcome to our Prime Minister and her support staff of Parliament, visitors in the public tribune, and those following the meeting by whatever medium. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if it's, I should say, needless to say, people know my stance, what it has been on the establishing of the Integrity Chamber. I've always said I don't have an issue with an Integrity Chamber, absolutely not. But the manner in which the Integrity Chamber was forced upon St. Martin is exactly part of the discussions that we have had in the last tripartite held right here in St. Martin with Curaçao and Aruba, where now the new trend in the Netherlands is to use a consensus kingdom law to force certain things upon the countries Curaçao, Aruba, and or St. Martin. When the hurricane struck in 2017, it was not something the people of St. Martin fell on their knees and begged for. It wasn't because of St. Martin burning too much oil by GBE is what brought the hurricane here. The hurricane came, and we had to live and suffer by the consequences. So, Chairman, lo and behold, the Dutch government took this as an opportunity to force their model of the Integrity Chamber on the people of St. Martin or on the government of St. Martin. Now, there are those who might want to say, yes, it's about time, and they need to do this and they need to do that. Mr. Chairman, we agree. There is a court system that deals with those that violate the laws. Whatever they do, eventually the court system has to catch up with them. And if we feel the need of an integrity chamber, or we agree with Holland, with the Netherlands, that there should be an integrity chamber, my stance has always been that it has to be ours. It has to be our integrity chamber, not theirs, not controlled by them, not higher supervision by them. And integrity, when you speak about integrity, it is something that is measured by the community, by the people, by their cultural acceptances of certain values. What is integrity, what is integer in one country may not be in another one. I am tired of using the example where a police officer working in Hoogkaterijnen in Holland would light or give you a light to light up your marijuana. And you smoke and you walk along, and he has absolutely no problem with it. The police officer would do that. But then that same police officer, 2 weeks after, is sent to St. Martin, and the same young man who marijuana, he gave him a light to lit it up, he stops him and arrests him on the boardwalk because smoking your marijuana in public, having your ganja in public in St. Martin is not accepted. And so we can go along with certain things. Recently, someone sent me a video where there is a conference on polygamy. And if you see the amount of people who are inviting others to come to this conference, and we must learn to live in love and harmony and whatnot. Now, in this part of the country, of the world, one would say, what? That's a disgrace. That's an abomination. But in those countries, it is accepted and it is normal. And I'm not saying that we have to set as a standard here that thieving, stealing, fraud, or anything is accepted. But when we talk about an integrity chamber, and it has to be supervised by the Netherlands, and the people who are appointed by the Netherlands are living in the Netherlands and report to the Dutch government, it is nothing more than a colonial structure. And worse yet, it was established in this parliament, not because this parliament thought this is what is right, but because members of this parliament at that time were forced, at least a majority, to agree to the Integrity Chamber, the Dutch style, or else it would not come. And Mr. Chairman, there was a time when our colonial structure called for governors. The governor of the Netherlands Antilles, and then you have lieutenant governors of the different island territories. And yes, those of us old enough would recall, and you don't need to have lived in those days, but when you do your historical research, you would see that the governors then were Dutch people. The governors were Dutch people. And gone are those days that the Governor General in the days of the Antilles was a Dutchman, and now we are going through our second governor for country St. Martin, and thank God, both of them are local born and bred St. Martiners. And we are now welcoming our second acting lieutenant governor, also the same acting governor of St. Martin, and a female, Dr. Bird, is going to assume that position, or is assuming that position, and we welcome them. I'm not altogether happy with where we are, in the sense that our development should be, and our struggle should be, to get out of that colonial system. Because we cannot grow as a people. We cannot grow as a country in a colonial system. Yes, we need to continue our evolution as a country. And we need to instill in our people this fear. We got to let loose of it, that, oh, we can't govern ourselves, and oh, we can't be independent, oh, we're too small to be independent, and oh, what do we have to become independent? Just look around us and look in the wider community, the bigger world, how many didn't make that journey before us. And yes, it may have rough edges, but today, with the support of more, the journey would be even easier. When we look at when the hurricane struck St. Martin in 2017, and the same hurricane struck Dominica. Dominica was awarded a bag of money. No conditions, no integrity chamber, no supervision, no anything. But St. Martin in the kingdom of one of the richest countries in the world per capita, we had to suffer conditions. I would not be here debating the integrity chamber as is, where is, to continue as is. Mr. Chairman, for me, it is not just raising the age. It is not just about raising the age. That is accepted across board. We are a young community. We don't have enough people to fill all of our positions. And at times, we need to increase ages so that people of older ages can continue to sit and occupy certain chairs. If we had a pensionable cap for members of parliament, that would have been gone years ago. And I'm going. As you would know, I won't be running again. But Mr. Chairman, if it was one last thing I would want to do is table and support an amendment that calls for all members of the board of the Integrity Chamber to be residents of St. Martin. We are not even going as far yet as saying has to be born St. Martiners, because then it is going to become a story that you never get out of, because how many of us are born St. Martiners? But Mr. Chairman, it is impossible for the Dutch to say, we want to appoint 2 or 3 people to the Integrity Chamber board, but we can't find anybody suitable who is living on St. Martin, who knows the pulse of St. Martin, who, because of their living and working in St. Martin, understands how the intricacies of St. Martin works, how the dynamics work, how people communicate with each other, how people get along with each other, because what is acceptable in St. Martin. I can remember years ago in teaching in St. Martin, there was a Dutch teacher at the John Phillips School, and it was normal voor a Dutchman to say, ik geef mijn zoon een trap onder de broek. Okay? And a Dutchman correcting his child would literally give him a kick. A St. Martiner would take a belt and cut his tail, or sometimes hit them a slap, depending on what they do. And I can remember this day. One of MP George Pantoflet's families, the son got a kick by a teacher, a Dutch teacher, and the father didn't hesitate to come up flying at the school. And it wasn't because the teacher was correcting his son, because the teacher raised his foot and kicked his child. And in our culture, you don't kick a child, you don't kick anybody. As they say, you kick your dog. And in other cultures, and even by our standards today, it is unacceptable to say you're going to kick a dog, because you're going to get flack left, right, and center. But Mr. Chairman, in those days, in the 1970s, late 60s, it was common for a Dutchman to say, een trap onder de broek. But a St. Martiner never accepted that. Now, how do we, when you bring that to a panel of judges, to an integrity chamber, to evaluate or to pass judgment on, the Dutch people are going to choose side with the Dutchman, who agrees that it's normal. When he calls to testify, he's going to say, but that's how I correct my own children, and that's how you correct your children. And if the St. Martiner is in the minority, he will lose that battle, because he would be the only one standing up against kicking a child as a means of correction. And so we can continue on and on. Mr. Chairman, because of technical reasons, when consulting the Council of Advice, we won't table the change today. And therefore, I would want to propose that we adjourn this discussion after this first round, so that we get the opportunity to come with the amendment, because I for sure won't be voting to simply raise the age from 70 to 75 and keep it as is. It is unacceptable for me for us to move forward with an integrity chamber where the Dutch will appoint people who live in Holland, who know nothing about the St. Martin society, and worst of all, we see a constant increase or an attempt to increase the budget because of them having to travel and come here for meetings. Mr. Chairman, even if they keep meetings virtually, you cannot judge integrity online. You judge integrity by being part of that community. Mr. Chairman, I rest my case, but I want to, as I said before, propose to you that we adjourn this discussion after the first round. There are no bundle of questions for the government to answer, I would assume, but for sure, it can't carry my support unless we have an amendment that calls to change that all members of the Integrity Chamber must be citizens registered in St. Martin. Just like the right to vote is given to anyone with Dutch nationality, but you have to be a resident of St. Martin, the right to be on our Integrity Chamber, you have to be registered in St. Martin. And if it is that the Dutch government can't find people living in St. Martin that would fit the profile of the Integrity Chamber, Mr. Chairman, I am sure, not even in here in Parliament, we can come up with names, but out there in the wider community, there are enough people who, A, would volunteer, and B, who would fit the profile. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Marlin. Next person is MP Westcott Williams. MP Sarah, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to my colleagues. A good afternoon to all tuned in to this meeting. Good afternoon to those in the tribune here at Parliament. And of course, a good afternoon to the Prime Minister and her entourage here in this public meeting defending the government's proposal to increase the ages of the members of the Integrity Chamber. Mr. Chairman, if you are entertaining the request that was launched by a colleague for an amendment, not an amendment, for time so that an amendment can be presented, I hope that can be very well motivated by the President of Parliament, because once that is done, I hope such a request in the future by others will also be honored. In other words, if we have a draft law coming from the government and one or more members or factions feel that they have not prepared an amendment but would like to do so and hence want to adjourn the meeting to be able to do so, if that is, once that is established, I hope that it is also considered for others regarding other laws coming from government if the request is made. That's one thing. Secondly, I look forward to hearing, before I even entertain a proposal for adjourning this agenda point so that a faction or factions can come with an amendment, I want to hear from the Prime Minister, this is a question to the Prime Minister, her thoughts on the idea of what an amendment will bring. So the proposal that has been put forward, and it is clear, we don't have to go back to find out what exactly was the Member of Parliament or the faction proposing, it's clear. So I would want to hear the Prime Minister's take on that proposal pertaining to this law, draft law. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, I have looked at the responses given by the government to questions posed by members of Parliament, including myself, and I realize there's a mix-up in terms of the answers because, for example, a question pertaining to the Council of Advice and how board members are appointed, that question did not come from me, but it is stated as such. I realize an answer has been given under the UD faction to a question posed by another faction, but that's not important. I just want to establish that for the record, because when I read some questions attributed to me, I'm like, no, I would not have asked that. So I went back to check, and no, I did not ask about the representation on the Council of Advice. No, no. What I did address and want to address once again is the issue of the SER. SER. I asked the question, and an answer has been given to that one as well in the report that we received. However, the answer that has been given does not provide, in my opinion, all of the information, considering that the same question was posed to the Minister of VSA, and an answer was given regarding an ILO advice that the government received, and where the ILO asked the government to stay out of this matter of the board representation of the SER, mind you. So the SER board representation and who put in candidates forward, etc. So, can we receive that advice from the ILO? In fact, from the words of the Minister of VSA, I learned that in addition to making that statement, because I asked what is the advice of the ILO to the government regarding the impasse that we are now at with the SER, and the Minister of VSA indicated a couple of things, as I mentioned, one of them being that the government should stay out of it, and secondly, the ILO offered mediation in this particular case. And I would like to see the ILO advice, because, I mean, really to get our SER board up and running, we can't get out of it ourselves. The ILO needs to offer us assistance in that respect. That was the answer given to my question by the Minister of VSA. So if the Prime Minister can clarify that, please, and provide the advice of the ILO. Now, what's the issue? Why is the MP sticking on the matter of the SER? It must be recalled that the issue of the topic, rather, of the general health insurance and that draft law is at the SER. But of course, the government's intention to introduce the general health insurance per the 1st of January 2024, that could not materialize because it can be advised upon by the SER. So now the date for the general health insurance, the effective date has been pushed to the 1st of January 2025. So I would really like to get, in addition to what is stated in the answers that we have before us regarding the SER, I would like to get the matter of I would like to get it clarified in terms of the ILO. So when are we going to be at the point where the SER is able to be up and running and dealing with matters such as the general health insurance? Mr. Chairman, I ask about the Council of Advice, not about representation on the board of the Council of Advice. What I asked was whether the site of the Council of Advice is up to date. Oh, what's important with the site of the Council of Advice, it is there where we learn, where we, the general public, members of Parliament and everyone, can learn of what the government has submitted or not to the Council of Advice for advice, whether these are advices, just advices, whether they're draft laws, whether they're draft national decrees submitted to the Council of Advice. I have also contacted the Council of Advice when I would hear the government say, but this is not the Council of Advice, and I don't see it listed as coming from the government on the site. I would ask the Council of Advice, and I have gotten responses. But now again, we are sitting here waiting for the amended budget 2023. Where is this budget? Is it at the Council of Advice? It's not stated as such on their site. That is why I kept asking, can the government, can the Prime Minister verify whether things are up to date as listed there? Because, Mr. Chairman, we have the issue of, as I mentioned, the draft amended budget, according to which amongst other things, the issue of the payment to the justice workers should be in this budget. I've asked it in a meeting before, and I want to ask it again. Where this is concerned, are we going to see a repeat where the payment to the justice workers is concerned? Are we going to see a repeat of January 2020? Are we going to see a repeat of that in January 2024, on the day before election, that these persons are going to be paid? If that is the case, inform them. Inform the people. Don't have persons having to ask us in Parliament, did you get a budget? Did you get a draft budget? No, because we haven't. So I say it now, no, we haven't. Mr. Chairman, I also ask in the Central Committee meeting on the topic before us, I asked regarding the SZV. And an answer was given as to the representation on the board of the SZV. According to that answer, everything is kosher where that board is concerned, and the SZV can and is doing its work. So then my question would be, can the Prime Minister, as the one responsible for the Council of Ministers, generally speaking, can the Prime Minister inform us if she has any idea when the matter of the indexation of the pension, of the old age pension, will finally be received by the pensioners? Let us go back a moment. The pension needed to be indexed in January of 2023. The government attempted to adjust or index the pension for the pensioners, the AOV, SZV pension, by national decree.
Yes, MP Marlin.
Mr. Chairman, I think the honorable member is straying from the topic, from the agenda point. We are having a discussion on the payment to police. We are having a discussion on the SER, while the discussion today is on the Integrity Chamber and about raising the age limit. This is not notifications where a member can go all over the place. Please ask the speaker to stick to the agenda point.
Thank you, MP Marlin. And I would request MP Sarah to keep it in the frame of the agenda point of today. Please proceed, MP Sarah.
Thank you, dear sir. Thank you, dear sir. I would request you then to peruse the answers as provided by the government to matters raised in the Central Committee meeting on this topic, which included SZV, its board, etc., age, etc. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to continue. I was on the topic of the AOV pension being paid out, of the government initially trying to adjust it according to a national decree. That did not happen, and a law needed to be amended, which was done. So it would be very helpful, considerate, humane of the Prime Minister to inform the pensioners when the amount due to them from January 2023 for the indexation of the pension will be paid out. I don't think I'm asking too much, Mr. Chairman. I am sure the chair would agree with me that it is time that the pensioners get to know when this will happen. Or, I ask again, is this also going to be a January 2020 stunt? And if that's going to be the case, I think it's very, very unfortunate. Because when we receive every month question from pensioners, but we don't see any change to our pension, we haven't seen anything, and we can't even give an answer. If it couldn't be paid out in October, then when? November, December? Or again, I ask, is it going to be a January 2020 stunt? as to how that payment to the justice workers took place. So, Mr. Chairman, for me, very important is the clarification on the matter of the SER and that whole issue about ILO and mediation and whatever else have you that was given as an answer by the Minister of VSA. And I thank you for your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. You have point of order, MP Bryson. You have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, just on that, I didn't want to interrupt the speaker further, but Mr. Chairman, I started the meeting by commending the fact that we allow questions to come in writing to the government related to the CC, or instead of a CC. Normally in a CC, if that meeting had taken place, the chairman would probably have stated in that meeting that question about SER or pension or so on is not within the topic. But now we send questions in writing to the government, and then it's now forms part of the discussion in an OVA on a completely other topic. I'm going to request then that we have to also find a way to make sure that the questions that are sent in writing then are also within the topic. Because if that's the case, then what I would do in this method is a topic is about GB. I'm going to slide a bunch of questions about the airport because I want to talk about the airport when that OVA comes. I think we have to be careful about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Bryson. The next person on the speakers list is MP Christopher Emmanuel. MP Christopher, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to you and the people of St. Martin, my honorable colleagues, and everyone in the Tribune who's listening by whichever means. Mr. Chairman, they say when elephant fights, the grass suffers. Clear example. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say it off of the back because there's no secret. I don't support the Integrity Chamber in no fashion, no form, no way whatsoever. So this will not be getting my support, no how. And even if I want to find a way to sort of tamper my tone in terms of saying, according to MP William Allen, and let me say I can agree with his amendment or his proposal that the members should be from St. Martin or all of St. Martin, even that I find sort of a hard way to agree with. Why? For the simple fact of how the Integrity Chamber came to St. Martin. He made mention of it. For the simple fact of why we have an Integrity Chamber in St. Martin. The Integrity Chamber did not come into St. Martin because of integrity. It was forced. It was blackmail because of a disaster. You take this or else. Do this or you won't get that. That's how the Integrity Chamber got here. But let's go a bit further, Mr. Chairman, because one could say, okay, the Integrity Chamber is here and they're doing their work, and let's put it in perspective to see if you can sort of go along with the Integrity Chamber. Mr. Chairman, let me pull it up because it was this year in September, Mr. Chairman. 2 advices, 8 inquiries, 3 suspected misconduct notification from the Integrity Chamber in 2022. This came out on the 14th of September, 2023. A budget of 2 million guilders. All we have gotten from the Integrity Chamber thus far is 2 advices. 8 inquiries. 2 advices from the Integrity Chamber. Mr. Chairman, if you break it down, we are talking about 153,800 guilders per advice. That doesn't come from the Dutch budget, Mr. Chairman. Now, we are here talking about raising the age. Raising the age. Because they can't find individuals to what, 75? Or whatever they want to raise the age to. Mr. Chairman, that's old white Dutch people that we are giving a vacation to, a nice pension to live a lavish life in the Netherlands. If you want to raise it to that age, 75, to be on an Integrity Chamber. How many individuals is on that boat? 3? I think Mr. Boseman is 1 from St. Martin and 2 others from the Netherlands. And we are looking to raise the age just for them to say that, what? 2 advices? 2 million guilders? We have done the study, Mr. Chairman. We have done the study in this country for $750,000. So let me take it and say 2 million guilders is about what? $110 million? If you round it off to that amount? For $750,000, the government of St. Martin can place 2 air conditioners in every classroom in this country. Every classroom, all of them. That all the schools and teachers and everybody have been balling for. They could go and fix around your school too as well while they're at it. With all the mold and everything for that same money. This is not coming from the Dutch budget. This is coming from the budget of St. Martin, the people of St. Martin. You see all those individuals who's on scale 1 and scale 2, all the cleaners and all of them, that comes from their taxes. Their taxes. To give old white people in Holland to sit on an integrity board and enjoy life. That's what the government is coming to St. Martin Parliament and asking us to raise the pension age for. And what's the excuse? They can't find people. As far as I'm concerned, the integrity chamber should cease to exist. As far as I'm concerned. We have so many issues in this country that 2 million guilders can go far. Can go far with this money. Every school on this island can get 2 air conditioners in each classroom. Every school in each classroom. Mr. Chairman, I would wait for the amendment and see where it goes and see what else they can add into it and see if they can beef it up with something else. But it doesn't pass my test. As far as I'm concerned, all the workers should go back to their jobs that they had before because most of them are civil servants and who's over the retirement age should do exactly that, retire. And the integrity chamber should not exist, period. And if there's anything that should be done, it should be done by St. Martin. Then we do it ourselves. This is controlled. This is controlled by the Dutch government. I remember hearing the Prime Minister use a word. And it wasn't even a word, it was a phrase in a sentence where she made mention the vestiges of colonialism. Point in case, the integrity chamber. That's what it is. Another arm of colonialism by the colonizers. And we are coming here in Parliament asking, right? The descendants of slaves who was damaged, ravaged, all sorts of ways. We are coming here and asking them, the children, the descendants of them, of these children, to raise the pension age of the slave master's children to enjoy a good life. Because they can stay up in the Netherlands and whenever they have a meeting, fly down first class on KLM, come here, stay in a top-notch hotel at Holland House, eat the best of food, get the big shrimp and lobster and crab and all sorts of things, stay for 2 days, jump back on the taxi, hit back on KLM, and back up in Holland. They are coming here and asking us to do that. Quintessentially, Mr. Chairman, the definition of Stockholm Syndrome. We just love our captive. We just love our captives. It will not get my support. In our language, teen getting my support at all. I think the government should go back and watch Spitfire again when it comes back out again and understand what we are dealing with here in this country. Integrity chamber. To use the Prime Minister's words, the vestiges of colonialism. Mr. Chairman, something is seriously wrong with us. That we can come here and asking us to raise the age for them to enjoy a better life. It will not get my support. I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Christopher Emmanuel. Anyone else? There's no one else on the list, so I would like to adjourn for 5 minutes to discuss with the Prime Minister the way forward. Meeting adjourned till 1:05. Good afternoon and welcome back. There's a proposal by MP Marlin to adjourn the agenda point 2 until further notice after the round 1. Can somebody second that and third it? We go over to the voting. Anybody needs for a roll call?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, MP Westcott William.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I had also made a proposal to hear from the Prime Minister on the proposed amendment, the reason why this meeting agenda point is being postponed. So if that can still take place, thank you.
Thank you. Prime Minister, as asked by MP Sarah Westcott Williams, do you have any point to raise on that? Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon once again, and thank you. I want to just clarify a few things. The Secretariat, represented here by Ms. Pompier, is our local director, yes? The investigators, the policy advisors, the communication officer, the administrative staff of the Integrity Chamber are all local. 3 members are appointed, 1 by St. Martin, 1 by the Netherlands, and jointly they appoint the chair. Currently, our member is the one that is in jeopardy based on the age limit, and he has only served 1 term. The intention was to have him serve a 2nd term, and that's why this proposal was brought forward. It's a half FTE. So the challenge is finding persons with the right fit as well as willing to, it's not a full-time job as well. So the Secretariat prepares the advices, does the investigations, etc., brings the advice forward, and it is then approved or disapproved by the members. So the members are not the ones doing investigations. They are the ones approving or disapproving of them, and then it can move forward in the process. At the end of the day, it was brought forward, this legislation, based on the fact that we had done the same. Similarly, St. Martin is a small society. It's not difficult for the Netherlands to find people who are under the age of 70. In our case, we are a viable person that turned 70 this year. We wanted to retain that person, and since we've done the same with the other councils, and that's why I didn't see the questions coming in from the members related to other boards as off the topic at the time, based on the fact that they were related to the boards. However, seeing the types of questions that came out, then I'm seeing that this is a platform being used for other reasons, and I have absolutely no problem dealing with challenges with any of those other topics, but just not in this forum and in this meeting. So I'll be willing and happy to address any of those other questions, just not in this meeting that is for the amendment of the Integrity Chambers members' age limit. So the point brought forward, the proposal to have the members be residents of St. Martin, I think if we had gone through all of the questions that were relevant to the case, I would have been able to go into the details, but I'll mention also, Mr. Chairman, for the record, that the chair, which was a female former judge from the Netherlands, has taken up a new position and has resigned. And the 2 members have put forth for someone that resides on St. Martin to take up the chair position. So at least now we would have 2 out of 3. Well, once we replace our member that is, because we cannot await this legislation any longer. If it's to be amended further to determine that all members should reside on St. Martin, then we will continue to do what needs to be done to ensure St. Martin has representation in the members as well. And so I look forward to any proposals. And by this, to the public that's out there who feel they're qualified, do send in your application to the government of St. Martin, Prime Minister Sylveria Jacobs, your CV, and why you think you're qualified to be on this board, and we will take it into consideration. Because for us, this was a meeting that should have been held a while back to ensure that we wouldn't run into trouble in having our representation on the board. And so if it will be delayed further, then that is the way the government of St. Martin will propose to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We go. Yes, Prime Minister.
And I doubt I'll have the opportunity again, so I'd like to take this opportunity to wish the people of St. Martin an advance happy St. Martin Day, of course, also to the members of Parliament who are here and who will be celebrating with us hopefully tomorrow together with the people of St. Martin, our 64th St. Martin Day in unity. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We go over to the voting now. Does any member of Parliament have any motivation? MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to, through you, thank the Prime Minister for her response. It's quite clear, and thus postponing this meeting, or this agenda point rather, cannot carry my support. The Prime Minister was very clear in terms of delaying this draft national ordinance and the consequences of a delay. So to postpone it so that an amendment can come subsequently cannot carry my support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott Williams. The next person is MP Rolando Bryson. MP Bryson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it is good that the Parliament of St. Martin, as the last line of defense, as I call it in legislation, has the opportunity to present further amendments. It is also interesting in particular with regards to this law, because the Parliament, as you know, we have our own free mandate to be able to vote our conscience, to be able to bring our own amendments. And this might be the only way we would be able to bring tangible changes to the legislation related to the Integrity Chamber. It should come from Parliament. So I do agree that we should postpone this for this time so that we can continue to work on that aspect. While there, let's say, is a voluntary situation where it has happened that a Dutch representative lived in St. Martin, I don't think that should be voluntary. I do agree that should be a rule. And there is a way that we can do this in such a way that it aligns with those changes as well as the changes to the age. So I do support MP Marlin's proposal to postpone until further notice, and we'll continue to work on that amendment.
Thank you, MP Bryson. There's nobody else, so we go over to the voting now.
MP Akeem Arundel.
No, 4.
MP Rolando Bryson.
4.
MP Solange Duncan.
4.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Yes,
MP Melissa Gums.
Against.
MP Grisha Edgar Martin.
Against.
MP William Marlin. MP George Pantaflet. MP Rayon Peterson.
Against.
MP Hyacinth Richardson. MP MP Angelique Remove,
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams,
Against.
MP Chanel Brownbill,
For.
Chairman Sid Harvey Shlani,
For. So the motion is carried with for 8 and against 4. So we adjourn the agenda point 2 until further notice. With this, I would like to take a 5-minute adjournment so the Prime Minister and the support staff can leave, and thank you for your meeting adjourned for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon once again, honorable members of parliament and those viewing this meeting. We go over to agenda point 3, which is the advice on proposal to establish a permanent committee of Parliament for Agriculture, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, with the interesting acronym CAFAH. This is IS 991-2022-23, dated August 14th, 2023. On August 14, 2023, Parliament received a letter from members of Parliament Grisha Heilige Martin, or from the Member of Parliament Grisha Heilige Martin, with a proposal for the establishment of the Permanent Committee of Agriculture, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, CAFAH. Yes, we like our acronyms for committees of the Parliament of St. Martin. All members have received the proposal via email. It can also be found on the Parliament General Team. A Central Committee meeting was held on October 27th, 2023 on the proposed CAFAH committee. An advice have been made, and the proposals for deliberations in the Central Committee are now sent to the public meeting. The proposal is for the public meeting to approve this proposal for the establishment of the new Permanent Committee of Agriculture, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry of Parliament. We have one speaker that is signed in. The speaking time is 20 minutes in the first round and 10 minutes in the second round, and that is MP Westcott Williams. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a good afternoon. Good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, the discussions in the Central Committee meeting on the establishment of a parliamentary committee for agriculture, animal husbandry, and fishery was a very good discussion. We, on behalf of MP Grisha Heilige Martin and myself, we want to thank the members for the support as expressed in the handling of this topic during the Central Committee. And Mr. Chairman, we have the proposal, the members have the proposal. Again, we're grateful for the support received thus far and just look forward to this receiving the approval of Parliament in this public meeting of Parliament, with our thanks going out to those who have discussed and indicated their support for the proposal. And just to reiterate, it's about establishing a parliamentary committee for agriculture, animal husbandry, and fishery. And once that committee is established, of course, we had proposed how the committee would function, the role of the committee, how it will function, and we look forward to getting it approved in this public meeting of Parliament, so that then the work of the committee in promoting agriculture, animal husbandry and fishery can start by members of the Parliament, which will be determined based on the members who will be a member of the committee. So, Mr. Chairman, we just look forward to this matter being approved in this public meeting of Parliament and subsequently forming the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Point of order, please. Oh, no. When we come to the voting, MP Bijlani will issue regarding the roll call. Thank you. We have no further speakers on the speakers list at this time, and we will... That's it? There are no further speakers for this topic. Does the MP Westcott Williams require a second round? I see no need. At this time, we will proceed with voting. And this will be done in accordance with Article 57 of the Rules of Order. Does any member request the voting by roll call? Roll call? Okay. No? I heard a roll call. No? No need. With that, then, the proposal is accepted unanimously as proposed by the Central Committee. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have now established a new committee let me get I know it's CAFAH, but I want to say it correctly. We have a new committee, a permanent committee for Parliament for Agriculture, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry. I believe later on the next steps would be to appoint members to those committees, as it's a new committee. So normally that is done at the start of the parliamentary year, but we've just established a new committee. So the Secretariat will be in touch with you all regarding membership of that committee, after which we will also vote on chairman and vice chairman of said committee. Members of Parliament, I thank you for this, for your participation. Do recall that we have adjourned until further notice the second agenda point in this meeting. So this meeting will actually be adjourned with this third agenda point having been closed. Meeting adjourned.